We're starting. What was the
I'll
question?
interview you. The gig at Brixton Academy, why? And why the Academy? Why why so much work? Why everything to do with it?
The Academy of Brixton, basically because Conflict have been banned from every venue in London, or every big venue. Colin and me decided that we wanted to play together. We figured that we'd need a vaguely big place. The first place that we were going to try was the Electric Ballroom, but that's run by a real crook, so we didn't want to play there. The only other place that would even begin to think of putting us on was the Academy, which holds 4,000 people. And for a punk band in London to attempt to play a gig of that size is just ridiculous. Because if you're talking about punk bands such as GBH, then you're talking about very small audiences, although they seem to sell a lot of records and appear in the press a lot. So we thought we'd just go for it, and if we could fill the place, and if we could pull it off, then it would be one in the eye for the promoters. It would be a kick up the arse for the punk bands, you know, all that stuff. And we just wanted to prove that it's possible to do it, you know, in a place of that size, to put on a gig, and put on a gig professionally. I mean, I'm speaking before the gig, you know, because now I know what's happening. To put on a gig professionally, and to do it well, and to be able to survive that and not have, you know, not have sold out, as people will be saying that we have done. We ran into certain problems because neither of us have dealt with the sort of problems that we came up against, or just the hassles, you know, having to deal with things like, you know, security, and having to deal with that amount of people. I mean, we knew that there were going to be a lot of people there, so that we had to hire in security, you know. Well, that for a start isn't punk, so, you know, that goes against you. That was difficult to get around, but, you know, you need to have that security to withhold those people storming the stage, etc., etc. So we walked into it quite blindly. And people were saying to us before we played the gig, you know, why are you doing the gig? And we were just saying, well, we don't know, we're just going to do it and see what comes out of it. And hopefully, if it inspires people to do something again, then that's all well and good. If not, then the joke's on us, you know, we've failed or whatever. Well, I mean, you know what happened at the gig, you know, there was a sort of little riot afterwards. I don't think we failed.
Going back to that security point, I think that something that there was a stage in the set when the security actually got tooled up to beat the band up with lumps of wood, metal chains, everything they could lay their hands on, because we actually turned around and saw them beating people up as they was dragging them out the side of the stage. We saw them beating people up and stuff like that pretty viciously. Members of the band went in to stop this, and a scuffle broke out between security and band, which none of the audience are probably aware that actually happened. They probably just, you know, from out front they didn't see none of that. I tried to explain to the head man of security why we was doing this, and I said the basic reason behind it is because our band don't get on with security because we remember as being part of the audience. We haven't forgot what being part of the audience is about. As when me personally used to go and see the Clash years ago, got beaten up by security and they was animals, and all he could say to me is, yeah, that was my security firm that done that. You know, it was their same security that had done the Clash, you know, 10 years ago and had beat me up and things like that. Not the same people, but the same firm. And like, it made me really feel sick, you know, which is why I acted in the way I did, because I thought that people would be a bit more responsible. I mean, I know that if I'd had the chance all that time ago to, you know, not behave myself, but if I'd had the chance to have some dignity, you know, and to, you know, respect the band, then I would have, rather than being forced back by people hitting me. But I mean, it just, we tried to do that, and in a way it succeeded, and in a way it failed. A few people took advantage.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, nothing has really happened in London anyway, I mean, I don't know outside of London, but no gigs have happened of any sort of consequence apart from, oh, I don't know, you know, I mean, God, crap bands playing, you know, and sort of doing stuff that we were all doing 5 years ago and claiming it to be new. And it's not new at all, you know, it's just the same old shit, you know, and just gigs like that and people saying, yeah, this is a new thing and we're getting into a new era, and it's not at all, you know, it's, you might as well just go down a fucking disco, you know, and all we tried to do was just, you know, to give it all a kick up the arse, and, you know, as Colin says, maybe we failed, but I don't think we did, you know, because... Because I'm certainly not going to condemn, you know, okay, there was a riot afterwards, you know, and I'm still not clear on why that happened, but I'm certainly not going to condemn that.
Yeah.
Certainly not going to condemn it. At the same time, I wouldn't say that I 100% support it, but I certainly don't condemn it, because, you know, rather than see a person, what else could have happened, you know, everybody sort of clap at the end and go home, or what? You know, and there are people who were claiming that the gig wasn't, you know, I had about 3 people come up to me afterwards and say, well, it's not like the old crass gigs, is it? You know, all sort of, you know, talking about it afterwards and sort of out on the streets and stuff, you know, and like talking about this kind of, not subversion, more like, you know, let's be almost militant, you know, and it's, how more militant can you get, you know, it's... With the fucking police waiting outside, you know, as soon as you went out the doors, you know, it's really weird.
I mean, at the time, I felt really pissed off, and like Steve was consoling me, you know, and saying, you know, that
I quit the band.
I felt really let down. Steve was saying, I've quit the band, I don't want to do nothing more. I was saying I don't ever want to gig again, you know, and stuff like this. You know, over the couple of days that followed, we actually sat down and realised how much impact it had had. You know, it was in like every national newspaper. It was on like the mainstream radios, and it even got on like TV, and you know, not the main news, but TV AM and things like that. And to us, looking back, it was a success in the fact that it's had far more impact than anything that I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years to do with punk. You know, nothing has happened except that gig. And okay, we planned it to be like not a landmark, but you know, something to be remembered. And I feel that in that way, you know, it succeeded in what we set out to do. It shook everything up, and I mean, the police obviously know that it's a potentially dangerous area, and to us that's exciting, and it's something that we're going to work on further, because, you know, there's no way that we intend to, you know, to back down from them, and we're certainly not going to let a few arseholes up the front ruin it either.
Well, and that's the other thing, is that, you know, I think that something like that gig the other night does present some sort of opening just for feelings again, because, I mean, so many people, I mean, I know a lot of people who've just been waiting for something to happen, you know, I've been waiting for something to happen, Colin's been waiting for something to happen, you know, we've all been waiting for something to happen. And the fact that, okay, there was a sort of semi-riot in Brixton that night, you know, 500 punks went on a rampage, you know, and okay, maybe they were, I don't know, all glue sniffing, drunk out their heads on side of sort of punks. I mean, you just don't know. The small minority that created a disturbance inside the gig are simply that, you know, a small minority. But what a gig like that, I think, creates is, firstly, you know, the feeling that you can do it. You know, it's possible to do it again, and not, you know, okay, maybe it's embarrassing because you feel like a twit, you know, because you're doing the same songs that you were doing 10 years ago or something, but, I mean, I found it really inspiring, you know, looking back over the videos and stuff, you know, it was really powerful. And I've yet to see a gig that's had that much power. You know, for all the G's and the Mary Chains that have come out, you know, their so-called rights at their gigs, smash up the PA, you know, this is the new thing to do, you know, and it's not a new thing at all. And, you know, for all the cult gigs, you know, and everyone comes out feeling wonderful, you know, well, you know, who thinks about it next week after that? Well, people are going to be thinking about this and talking about it for weeks to come. And it's up to not only us, but to people who were at the gig, and not the people who are at the front, or not the people who are causing the disturbance in Brixton to think about it, but the people who are at the back quietly watching, you know, to think about it and think, well, what can we do with it? You know, we've got this situation, you know, it's all up in the air again, you know. It's just created an opening, maybe, I don't know, maybe the joke's going to be on us and we'll be in jail tomorrow, you know, after being down the academy.
We still don't know what's going to happen yet. As far as we know that...
well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. 10 years.
It's very likely that the police are going to want to see us. That's the general impression we've got, is that they're going to want to see us about this, that and the other. We know that there was police in the gig. We know that they was actually watching from the balcony. We knew that at the time. We wasn't going to like calm anything down. We still was going to say what we had to say. I kind of expected something to happen afterwards, just by the general feeling that there would be towards the police, and the feeling that the police had created in the afternoon themselves. I mean, they'd totally made it known that they wasn't going to have anybody wandering around Brixton. They wasn't going to let anyone stray. They was going to escort them from station to gig, and vice versa on the way back. As Steve said earlier, there was a comment that actually said that by the police that a few of their junior officers had lost their head and overreacted after the gig and steamed into people with truncheons and that. I mean, it's not an excuse that they will come out with. If it's not the type of thing they will openly admit. I don't expect to see it in any paper or anything, but that's what they've said behind closed doors, and we know that from really reliable sources.
That's all right, mate. Make a noise. Don't worry, mate. It's Pat.
Is it Nick?
Huh?
Is that Nick?
No, that's Nemo. Who's Nick?
Cayman?
No, not that one.
Sorry.
Well, that gig was for the ALF, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's for a mixture. There's about 20 different stalls and 20 different causes that came and done their own part towards it. So, I mean, yeah, it was, there was like Greenpeace, ALF, a group called Black Sheep, a peace movement from Wales and stuff like that, imprisoned miners, support animal rights prisoners. It was like a wide thing right across the board, which was good because it brought everyone together. And I think that, as Steve said, it was like there was a feel of expectancy about it. I mean, it really shook me up too. It was something new. It wasn't like, I've been gigging since like Crest stopped gigging. We've been gigging constantly, but it was a new feeling for me. It was really new. It was sharp. There was, it was expectant. Something was happening, and it was for the first time for years I actually enjoyed playing. And I don't usually enjoy playing, but I actually enjoyed playing at that gig, and I was like really enjoying it. Instead of just a feel of total anger, which I was fucking angry when we went on, there was a feel of like there was different feelings. Usually like a conflict set is just very, very angry start to finish, but there was different feelings. There was happiness on stage and stuff like that as well, which I feel was really important. And I looked out into the crowd and I saw people smiling, and that was a really big thing for me, because it's usually just like fists clenched in the air, let's go type thing, and it was nice. It was a different type of feeling. So for me it was special, looking back. On the night I was a bit disturbed, but that's the way it happened.
How did you choose your song?
What we played?
Yeah.
How did we choose them?
Well, we thought that we decided that we were going to play Crash songs, and we felt that the best thing to do would be to play the old favourites that everybody knows, like Band from the Rocks, the Iris Olivia and stuff. But the other problem was that we wanted to do the gig quickly, so we decided on a date of April the 18th, and then we had the problem of actually learning the songs. So then what we had to do was partly choose the easiest ones to do. The one we had most trouble with was How Does It Feel, wasn't it? That was really difficult.
Yeah.
But most of the others were like, we just tried to choose ones that everybody knew, and that would be instant. Because, the way we looked at the gig when we were actually first setting up was that, first of all, we wanted people to have a good evening. And, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. And obviously we weren't going to do it at the cost of anybody. So we thought, well, okay, we just do the old favourites. Everybody can have a fun evening. including us. We'll enjoy doing it. If people say it's shit, then it's shit. You know, it's tough on us. But if people come away, as I said, if people come away inspired to do something, you know, more than that, then fine. You know, I mean, if someone can put on a gig better than we did, you know, with new material, then, you know, have a go. But that's the way we chose it, you know, just the ones. We just decided we wanted to do the old favourites, you know, because everybody knows, and, you know, everybody can sing along, you know, it makes us look good, you know, and we can let the crowd sing it, we don't have to sing so much, and
it was like
it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, like, looking back, you know, it was like, I mean, it's the most important event that I've been involved in. You know, I really thought it was worthwhile. But, I mean, we could ramble on about the gig forever, really, couldn't we?
Yeah, would you like me to ask another question?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Now you can ask me.
So what do you feel about what happened outside? Do you think it was constructive?
I think it was fucking brilliant. More of this. The ignorant party will have it in its manifesto. We're going to stand in the general election as well. I don't know if you know about this yet, but we're actually intending standing under the ignorant party in general election and seriously having a crack at it. I mean, you know, probably on a local basis, you know.
Well, to actually get, what is it, seats in?
I don't know. I mean, I know it's pretty minimal. It's a city.
It costs £200 to actually. Yeah, that's all to be able to
actually put a party forward, and
yeah,
you have to get so many seats.
so easy.
That's your deposit, and you have to get so many seats, otherwise your deposit's taken away. But I mean, I think it's a fuck for the crack of it. It'd be worth £200 to do it, even if we lose it, you know. So that's our next trick in the sleeve. But I mean, as for what happened afterwards, yeah, I think it's more than being constructive. I think it's necessary, because I don't think you can let police start, you know, fucking around with people like that. They've done it at every conflict gig over the last, like, 2 years. 8 gigs in London, and every time they've, like, bashed the shit out of people, including me. I've been in the cells till 4 in the morning. I've had the shit that they give you. They put my head down the toilet. They've nearly broke my fingers trying to take fingerprints, you know. So I know the shit they dish out, and, like, I can support everybody that has a go back at them. Because I generally think that they provoke it, and I think that they do it on purpose. You know, we've had comments like venues have actually come round to us and said, when we've arrived at a venue, they've said they've had the local police in who said, oh, it's going to be good tonight, you know, because every time conflict come, we get a good ruck afterwards, you know. Local young police, you know, it's their attitude, and I mean, like, for people to stand up to that is really good, because they're fighting, you know, a massive odds, you know, and I think that's good that they will have a go. I don't like to see people putting themselves in dangerous position where they're going to get hurt by the police, because I think it's far cleverer not to get caught. But at the same time, I think it's important that they do get a certain amount of resistance. You know, so that's my opinion on what happened afterwards. What's yours?
Well, the only reason I say constructive is because I can foresee people saying, because we went to the academy today, and they said that the shops in the, like, a load of shops got their windows smashed, and that the shops have got a petition going to try and close down the academy or some sort of, I don't know, some sort of stuff like that. And I was just wondering, you know, I can foresee people saying, well, you know, something like that happening is well and good, but, you know, in an area like Brixton where it's all blacks living, you know, and you're sort of going into their territory and smashing their shops up where they have to shop every day, you know, which was something I was a bit sort of nervous about. But I mean, fuck it, you know, it's not just Brixton, you know, it's the whole of fucking England, and it's the whole of the world, you know. And I don't, it's like I was saying before, you know, I'd rather see someone sort of rip up a train seat with a knife than, you know, see him sit in a fucking school all day, you know. It's that sort of difference. And okay, it's very sad that, you know, people got arrested and that a policeman got a broken leg or whatever, but, you know, the police should know by now that, God, what do they see, you know? If only the minute you walk out of the gig, you know, you're up against a blue uniform, we're pushing you back, you know, and you're being pushed out by security, something's going to happen, you know, they know it's going to happen, and it's just, they should learn by now, you know, that surely they should know. Okay, you're going to get a few people saying, you know, fucking pigs, or,
Well,
you
it's
know.
just a basic show of strength, I think.
Yeah, and you know that punks, you know, punk rock gigs, you know, they'll come out a bit in the mouth, you know, but I mean, that's all it is, you know, is mouth. Crazy. I mean, I don't, constructive, well, it wasn't constructive, but it wasn't destructive either. I just don't see any other way it could have ended.
I mean, the only way that, you know, I mean, my personal opinion is that it was justifiable. You know, I mean, if what happened actually happened and the police were wading in, which I can well believe, because I've seen it, you know, other gigs. I wasn't actually outside when it started. I went out halfway through and saw it happening. And from what I saw then, it was mainly police chasing people. But what I've seen at other gigs is, you know, it has been justifiable. I mean, I've wanted to, like, you know, go berserk myself, and the time I got arrested, I was walking around taking their numbers that I was bashing people, and just got thrown in the van, and, you know, I said, you know, you can't do this, I know my rights, and I just got told in their language that I didn't have no rights and that I was a punk cunt, you know, and that was the type of thing you're going up against. And of course, once you get to the court, the whole story's going to change, and there's only one side that they're ever going to take.
But also, I mean, one thing that we tried to show at that gig, I mean, did you see the video that we showed before we went on with the police and the gun and everything? And the police in Britain have plastic bullets now, and riot gear and CS gas, and they are ready to be used at all times. And it's quite a common sight to see in London, you know, in central London, a van with metal grille, you know, a riot van. And for that to happen, if 4 years ago you had said to me that the English police would stop people from moving, you know, from going from one part of England to the other, I would have said no, it could never happen. But it did happen, and it happened in the miners' strike. You know, they actually stopped the Kent miners from crossing the River Thames. It's what we're trying to show with that video is that, you know, it's not the bobby on the beat that you're up against. You know, even if you're an out and out nutcase who wants to have a fight with a policeman, you're not up against a policeman in a helmet. You're up against a policeman with a shield and a truncheon and a gun. You know, and that's what it is. And it's getting to the time when people have really got to start deciding whether or not they actually, you know, they've really got to think carefully before they start going for the police. You know, because it's going to get so fucking heavy now. I mean, it is so heavy now, as shown in that gig, you know.
But it's going to get a lot heavier.
A lot heavier, and people have really got to start
Mm.
deciding, you know, every demonstration now is going to be so fucking heavy. There's not a demonstration that happens now in England where, I mean, every demonstration in England, the police don't look on the outside, they look inwards, you know, and take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's so-called police
Yeah.
protection, you know, and it's not protection at all, it's like, you know, it's detection.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I stopped going on demos, and we got really, you know, criticised for not going on these demos. But there was no way that I was prepared to show my face or have it filmed or be pushed in line by a load of police anymore. I couldn't see the point in demonstrating. I knew my personal opinions, I could spread them in other ways rather than going around chanting at a load of brick walls, you know, while being controlled by lines of policemen. I didn't need to do that anymore, you know, I wanted to get away from that. I'm a firm believer in direct action, but I'm a firm believer in doing it carefully as well, because, like, you know, it's very easy to get a record, and once you've got that record, you're just on a list. And I don't really see the point in being on that list. I think it's far more cleverer to, you know, I mean, get involved and get inside, rather than, you know, make yourself known. I think to make yourself known is bad. I mean, we're always going to be known as the band, and that's something that we won't back down on, because we've put ourselves there, and there's a hell of a lot of people that want to put themselves there with us. So I don't think that we'll ever back down from that, because, like, we owe so much, you know, for what we stand for. We owe so much, not for actually people, but for what we stand for. You know, we owe so much. So I don't think I'd ever find ourselves backing down on any statements that we've made or anything like that. I'd say that we are likely to find different ways of doing things, because we feel it's important. and it's more important than having
Well, we're going to have
sets
to
of
find
homemade
different ways.
rules. You know, there's no point in having like homemade rules or other people's rules like put on us. One of the things that really has pissed off us too is that there's so many rules within like a so-called anarchist movement of what you can do and what you can't do, what you're expected to do and what you're not expected to do. You know, something that Steve said to me once is that it's like actually turned out to be more conservative than any other type of, you know, rebellion stroke music you could think of. You know, it's so fucking, you know, if you step out of line, you're wrong. If you try something new, you're wrong. You know, and I think that's the battle you're always going to face. And at first it used to worry me, but now it doesn't. Because I know that what we're doing is right, and I know that any way we're going to do it from now on is right. I mean, there's only one goal, and whichever way you go for it, it's got to be the right way.
What did you think about the gig?
You.
I won't say anything about the gig.
No, why?
What did I think about the gig?
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to you talking yesterday, and you seemed to be
I was-
sort of disappointed.
I was expecting something different, probably more militant. I mean, more organizations put in front. I mean, you know, I thought it would be more than a gig, that it would be surrounded with the organizations more. They would be more present.
What, like ALF talking?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I talked with people and I learned that 4 or 5 people have been sentenced to 10 years imprisonment because they smashed laboratories on.
The Animal Liberation
There's a
Front.
new law, I heard.
Yeah, what the leaders of the Animal Liberation Front.
Ah.
Yeah, Ronnie Lee, Vivian Smith, and those. Yeah, they got 10 years and 8 years about 2 months ago now. For like planning to put incendiary devices under MPs' cars and in fur shops and stuff like that. But I mean,
There's a new law for that.
yeah, but it's to have people on stage saying those types of things is really dangerous. I mean, it's all very good putting on like a type of military show, but I mean, it's like a similar situation to, I mean, would the IRA put their faces on a stage and say, you know, yes, we're the people that's behind this? I mean, I know for sure that if, you know, I'm not saying I'm not, but if I was involved in making incendiary devices or stuff like that, I wouldn't stand on a stage and say this is what we should do, because, you know, as I already said, there was police at the gig. There's always going to be undercover people watching this type of thing, and I think that's a pretty dangerous thing to do. I think it's very dangerous. I mean, like, if you ever like ring or speak closely with the ALF, they'll never admit who they are, and we'll meet in really obscure places like McDonald's and Wimpy bars, you know. It's very dangerous. As I say, you're talking about 10 years for one person. It's not something you can walk around and say, you know, this is the ALF, this is the way we do it. It's really got to be kept low key. Any form of anything that's going to get that heavy has got to be kept low. I mean, they've all, over the last year, they've been linked with the IRA and stuff like that, and learning tricks off the IRA, and that is really heavy. I mean, you know, that is like the type of thing that the police and above the police go into. So it's, I mean, it's really hard. You know, what would, you know, how you can't really have that done, can you? I mean, how can you can't really have those type of people talking. One, because certain people probably would talk. I mean, myself, I wouldn't speak about that type of thing on stage. You know, I'd say ways of doing things, which we do in songs, but I wouldn't actually turn around and say, yes, you know, we're the Animal Liberation Front, we do this, because I think that's dangerous. You
Well,
know?
it's also dangerous because, I mean, I think that you have to remember that there are very young people in the audience. And even last night, I'm sure that there were people who probably come from a very small village, you know, just like this place, have never had to deal with anything like the Brixton police, and suddenly find themselves up against it and don't know what the hell is going on, you know. And to stir everybody up to a sort of militant mood, you know, and yeah, everyone go out on the streets and stuff is... I just couldn't do that to those people, you know, because I know how frightened I get sometimes, you know, and it really is scary to be in those sort of situations, and to think that you're getting someone who's never had to face anything more than, you know, having their name taken for riding a push bike on the pavement, suddenly up against a riot situation, you know, it's like,
with blokes pouring out of bed,
yeah, which is really terrifying. And also because I said, you know, the original idea we had was to just do the gig and whatever came from it, you know, came from it, and then we decided to have the stalls there, you know, because obviously it's a good thing to do. We didn't want hundreds of people wandering about on stage, you know, because then that would mean that people trip over wires, you know, you get people just want to hang around, you know, people getting away, you can't do what you want to do, you know, we just didn't want to have to deal with any of that. We just wanted to do the performance, wallop, you know, this is it, get off, you know, now you decide what it was like, you know, and we'll sort of think about it and, you know, hide or whatever.
Does it help you conflict your voice, all that? I mean, in your lyrics.
What, the direct action approach?
Yeah.
Yep, and we will continue to do so. I mean, you know, we do get involved in a hell of a lot of direct action. At least a third of the time of the band. There was a time when it started deteriorating because the band started to take over, which I thought was really bad, and like just stamped it out. Just thought, well, fuck the band, you know, let's get back down to this. It's also got to a point where I've got such a criminal record that I have to be so careful now, because, like, you know, one more time and like I'm away, and I don't think that it's, you know, there's certain people that think that it's big or it's right to go away, and I don't see any point in being a martyr. I think it's really stupid. I think I can do so much more and I can't do nothing inside. So I'm not prepared to take any unnecessary risks. Sometimes I lose my temper, like on Saturday, went running out into the street to start fighting with the police, saw how many there was, saw that they was winning, and backed off. The same's happened at the last couple of conflict gigs when they've started. They started in Leeds. We all run out there, give them a bit of a go, you know, run away when they all steamed in, because, like, can't afford to get caught anymore. The sentiment's still there. I still believe that there's only one form of change, well, to do with the main topics that I'm into, like the animal liberation thing. I think the only way to do it is from direct action, because I don't believe that they'll ever bother with any decent legislation.
Yeah.
That'll do. But or any white paper's going to change anything, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's the way, you know, we've always seen it as a direct action type of approach. I mean, we've been put down and put up for it and put on a pedestal for it, and there's been people saying, where the fuck are conflict, you know, when, like Saturday, I'm sure you're going to get all that again, where the fuck were conflict, you know. But that's just something we'll face. We're prepared to face that. Really? Where do we start on that? Yeah. I mean, basically, you know, the history of our band, it's been going since about 1979, 1980. There's nothing really a serious band. It's kicked off in April 1981. And it's just like being a series of gigs, battles, events, records, you know, it's just like, it's all stuff that seemed really relevant to us, if to nobody else, along the period. Somehow along the line we seem to have got accepted as being one of the most popular bands. I don't exactly know how, it just happened, you know. Whether that's fortunate or misfortunate, you know, I'll never know. You probably know as much as, you know, I can tell you about what records and shit like that we've done. Apart from that, it's just like the line-up's changed a couple of times, but that was only very early on. The line-up as it's been now has been like it for the last year. Our bass player left because we disagreed over certain subjects just before recording the last LP, the Ungovernable Force one. and I feel we've got a good stable lineup now. So, Pinko, hurry up. Okay, let's talk about the bus fund first. Basically, the bus fund's just an amount of money which comes in through benefit gigs and donations from people and stuff like that. It's just an amount of money that, well, there's never an amount of money. It comes in and it comes out, you know, it goes straight out. And basically it's just people that have got spare money donate it, or you know, you get sponsored walks, anything, sponsored fast, sponsored pool competitions, you know, anything to raise money. Sometimes it's more urgent than others, like it's bound to be urgent again after the arrest at the Brixton gig, and it works really well. You know, people that can't afford to pay fines, you know, it's just paid for them, and so it's not a problem anymore to get arrested. But then there is like the complacency of getting arrested too much. You can get put away and stuff like that. So that's one of the criticisms we've had is, you know, is it right to, you know, pay people's fines and lead them into trouble? Rather than, I don't think it's leading people into trouble. I think it's helping them out, you know, when they get into trouble. I mean, it isn't just like, you know, arrests at conflict gigs that we help out. It's like anybody that gets fined for anything, as long as it's not political left or political right. That's about the only stipulation, is that we won't help any of the political parties. We don't want to know about any of that, and that's about it, really. As for the records, we're releasing a live LP at a gig, which I don't know when it'll be out. We just started working on it now. It's like a semi-live, semi-studio job, and a video. A video of the gig is going to come out as well, which is going to be like a documentary, just trying to show like everything that goes on instead of just showing like 40 minutes on stage or whatever. You know, trying to show the whole area, you know, what exactly happens and what doesn't happen. Just trying to give people a more real feel of what it's all about, rather than just thinking that, you know, you're like some type of pop star that jumps on stage and says, you know, hi, I'm here type thing, and then gets off afterwards. Something that we really want to try and break down because we feel it's important. I forgot what else I'm meant to be talking about.
We're talking about your records.
Records, right. Well, you know, the first things that we put out was like on Crass and Corpus Christi, which was, you know, that House That Man Built single, that album, It's Time to See Zoo, To a Nation of Animal Lovers, and then I think that was, yeah, from then on we done a live single which wasn't all that. We just, like, you know, needed to do something. We felt that we wanted to put something out, and then we started our own label. Thought it was time that we, you know, started doing something ourselves, and we released a couple of singles after that. Serenade Is Dead, Battle Continues, This Is Not Enough, stuff like that, and a couple of LPs. And then we done a couple of benefit LPs as well, which was like the Only Stupid Bastards Help Me MI one, and an LP that was meant to be just for mail order, which ended up in some shops because, like, we pressed far too many. We overestimated, so we had to let it go out in the end. But that's about all we've done to date. In the future, we're going to work on a single, which I see being pretty different from the stuff we've done. I see it being very different, but whether that's a change of direction or just something we feel, we don't know, you know, until it goes into the studio. We don't know. We've got a few rough ideas, but that's about it, wouldn't you say? There's no plans for like any concrete vinyl release or any, like, you know, marketing as such. I mean, we want to get over to a lot more people. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to like make everything a lot more subtler. It's just like we might choose different ways of doing it, and we might choose ways that we never dreamed of doing it before, i.e., you know, TV, radio, you know, stuff like that. Whether people like that or not, they can take it or leave it, because we feel it's necessary. We feel that otherwise we're going to be banging our heads on the wall for the next like 6 years or 7 years, and in the end we're just going to end up thinking, yeah, that was good while it lasted, but we didn't get very far, did we?
You sing together on the records. On your records.
We have on.
Steve and you.
We have on one, we did a single called To a Nation of Animal Lovers that we worked really closely together on, and that's the only one. The next, we're gonna, as Colin said, we're gonna release a live album of the gig, and then we're gonna do a single after that. Is it gonna be 12 inch or 7 inch?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
don't know.
really,
We're
like,
just gonna
looked
do a
at it
record
that
together,
far.
and we'll be singing together on that. So that'll be 2. 3, including the
Mega
live
box
album.
And there's Christ the video.
Of course.
You have a video too.
Sorry?
The video I've seen at the gig.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've had footage. We've been collating footage over the last like 3 years of bits and pieces, and we've always had this vision of releasing like a documentary when the band are totally not going to play anymore, of just releasing this like footage of what it's been about, like a type of more, not like a history, but a type of diary of what went on, you know. I'd always thought that would be quite nice to keep just for personal reference, but then I thought perhaps it's people that, you know, feel close. The band's got a lot of close feeling of people as well. I mean, out there is a lot of people that genuinely are involved and genuinely care, and I'd really like them to actually, you know, have some type of thing to look back on about, you know, what it was all about and stuff like that. Up until recently, I'd seen it all coming very close to us being the end of a band. However, now I see it's like got a new lease. I don't know, you know, it's just like something's bright again. Whether that happened at Brixton or not, I'm not sure. At one time at Brixton, I thought that was the end of the line. Since then, I've happened to think that we can be a lot more stronger than we have been.